You got to kick it off with a killer to grab attention. Then you got to take it up a notch.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us.
Who are you? I'm Shiva, the god of death.
Cells.
Interlinked.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Yeah, okay. Right into it.
Let's do it. Godzilla, let's go.
Folks, welcome to Debaser, a film podcast. I'm Jared Rusk, and I'm joined by my co-host, Will.
Screonk.
Wait, is that
is
an onomatopoeia of a...
If you go to any of the comic books that Godzilla's in and he does his roar, it is Screonk, and I'm not even kidding you.
On this show, we explore both new and familiar movies as we attempt to analyze and interpret them, all in an effort to debase the films and ourselves. And I'm racing through my intro today because we are covering Godzilla Minus One. And I'm excited to talk about it because
so am I.
Will and I have both seen the movie, and we have not said a word to each other about it yet.
Well, I have said a few things, but
okay, that's true. And I have words for those remarks.
Fantastic,
but
good.
We haven't expressed to each other how we felt about it yet.
This is true. And you, after you got out, you was like, I'm not saying a fucking word until we got on the podcast. So I've been
that's all I said to you was I'm not saying anything.
Very excited to talk about this fucking movie, purely because I had that little rant where I was like, why can't American Godzilla be serious?
Yeah.
This movie was awesome,
buddy. It fucking ruled so hard.
Yeah, this movie.
That's the end of episode. We're done.
Yeah. This movie was fucking excellent.
I had the reviews rolling in. Like, I didn't want to read them, obviously, and get spoiled, but I saw the scores coming in and like the praise on Twitter and people just being like, wow, I had no idea this movie was going to be so good.
It was so good.
It came out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, the trailer was really impressive, but it didn't give you an idea of if the movie was actually going to be good or not.
Exactly, yeah.
Because like Godzilla trailers can be very cool because like Godzilla's are spectacle movies.
Godzilla is cool as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. But like maybe those are all the best scenes. Oh my God, this movie is so fucking good. Yeah. There is a reason everyone loves this movie. It's doing so fucking well. For the longest time, it had a 100 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Did it really?
And when it finally got a negative review, the director tweeted, "Finally, lol."
Fucking awesome, dude.
Okay. God, this movie is so fucking... If you're listening and you haven't seen this movie...
Yeah,
I'm sorry to say this. Turn the pod off and go see this movie. Like,
it's not going to be in theaters by the time this comes out.
No, it will, because it's making so much money.
You think it is?
I think so. It's making so much money.
You know, this episode comes out on January 10th.
God, if it's playing, look it up if it's playing near you.
Yeah. Look it up and see if
not, it might be on streaming right now.
Yeah.
But
you should watch it.
This movie is making so much money and getting so many good reviews from critics and audiences alike because it's so good. You owe it to yourself to see this movie. Please don't get spoiled on it. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really good.
Honestly, no, I would say you can get spoiled on it and still have a really good time.
Oh, for sure.
Because the plot is a little predictable, I'll say.
It's 100% predictable.
Yeah, I know. But it's not like you're still riled up in the moment.
Yes.
And that's the best thing a movie can do is like not every movie needs to be super original and like, you know, you can't reinvent the wheel with you know, story and plot and characters every time.
We say this after 2 weeks after ripping Rebel Moon a new asshole for being super
and we
derivative.
get onto that movie for being so derivative and not being original at all. But like this movie still shows you that like you don't have to be 100% original or creative and still tell an engrossing story with characters that you care about.
Yes.
Which like, yeah, you could map them to other things and like, and say like, yeah, this is like an old story, you know, like, of course this is what happens and this happens and this happens, like A, B, and C, but you're still invested.
Yeah.
You know, like it's incredible. Like I saw certain plot points coming, but still like felt myself get overwhelmed when it happened.
Sure.
You know, like I don't want, we're so early into the episode. I don't want to say specifically the one or two things I'm talking about, but like, I remember my wife and I have recently had a child, and that is a big part of this movie, I should say. We did not know that going in, and we were both very emotionally overwhelmed watching this movie.
Yeah.
And my wife was in tears most of the movie. But like not in a bad way. Like she had an amazing time, but she was in tears and sniffling most of the movie. And I felt so bad. But when a certain thing happens at the end of the movie, she was like, "Oh my God, thank you." I was so relieved.
It's such a bummer because that's one of my complaints. is that scene.
Okay.
But anyways, we'll get to it. Let's do the thing.
Let's go ahead and get into it. But if you're listening, please see this movie. You owe it to yourself.
Highly recommend, even with the flaws. Highly recommend. Go see this movie. You will,
but keep listening, or come back and listen later.
Yeah, if you don't give a shit about Godzilla, you will.
Exactly, because everyone says like, "Oh, the weakest parts of Godzilla movies are the human stuff." Not true. Now,
not this.
They get it right.
They get it. Not only do they get it right, but this should be an architecture for any future Godzilla films.
Yes,
like you need to Yes, you can have the creature be like the main focus, or at least a focus. You know, the movie is centered around them,
right?
But if you're gonna have humans
you can make the surrounding stuff good still and interesting.
Yeah, instead of it being like Millie Bobby Brown and all this other
the coach from Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, like all this other bullshit. You know, like you don't need that.
Yeah, I know. Okay, Godzilla Minus One. I will get into why it's titled that later. This film was released in 2023, of course. As of press time, it's in theaters now. I hope it's still playing by the time this episode comes out in like 2 more weeks. You owe it to yourself to go see it. You won't regret it. The movie stars
Minami Hamabe, Ryunosuke Kamiki, and Sakura Ando.
Perfect. That's exactly how I would have tried to do that, at least. The brief synopsis of the film is post-war Japan is at its lowest point when a new crisis emerges in the form of a giant monster, baptized in the horrific power of the atomic bomb. The film was written and directed by Takashi Yamazaki.
Yes.
Takashi Yamazaki, maybe? Should I stress the K?
No, Takashi.
Okay.
So when you're pronouncing
Japanese,
katakana,
okay,
or any kind of Japanese words, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every I guess like syllable has to have the exact same time wasted on it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you drag it out like Takashi, the ka part is like too far. It's Takashi or Takashi Yamazaki.
Okay,
like it's all needs to be like succinct. It all like I don't know why, but every word has to share the same, or every like
you don't stress certain vowels or okay. Interesting. The film maintains a dual 98% critic score and audience score. You'll love to see it,
You
folks.
do love to see it.
On Rotten Tomatoes, this may be the most universally beloved film we will ever cover on this podcast.
Yeah.
I literally can't think of anything else. A movie doing better than this.
Yeah.
I think Paddington 2 was like, it maintained a 100% critic score for so long on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And then I think 1 or 2 guys finally wrote negative opinions, maybe just to tank that score. But
I mean,
anyway, we
some people are filled with spite, you know.
Exactly. The budget is estimated to have been around $15 million US dollars, and so far it has grossed around $69 million. Nice. On Letterboxd, user Brian Espitia. Sorry, that name really threw me off. I apologize. User Brian Espitia says, "You ever just stop and think about how absurdly hard the Godzilla theme goes? 4 stars." It's true.
I've always known that theme goes hard. And when they started playing it in the film, I saw this with my brother-in-law. And I gripped both of the fucking seat things, and I started fucking shaking because I'm like, oh yes, I love this fucking thing. I love it, dude. I love that fucking thing.
So to be clear for the listener, the film reuses, as many Godzilla films like to do, the original theme from the 1954 Godzilla.
Even in King of Monsters, they redo the Godzilla film. And
you have to, because it's so iconic.
And
why fix something that was perfect?
For Mothra, they redid Mothra's theme too.
Yes, Courtney told me that. I was not aware, but Courtney pointed that out to me, because my wife is a big fan of Mothra.
Yeah, that's right. How can you not be too? She's a fucking queen.
But yeah, the Godzilla theme, you're going to be humming it when you walk out of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I've been humming it for weeks now. Or a week now. It's so great. So some quick trivia. According to IMDb, the -1 in the title refers to the fact that Japan had already been devastated by World War II and was brought down to 0. But with the emergence of Godzilla, it puts Japan into the negative. This is reflected in the film's original Japanese tagline, which translates to post-war Japan from 0 to minus. That I did not understand from the trailers and the posters. I was like, what is this -1 about?
I didn't understand it either.
But that makes it clear as day for me now. Now, director.
Keep it in flip heads.
No. Director Yamazaki was a big fan of Shin Godzilla from 2016.
Yeah, obviously.
If you've seen it, it is a great movie.
You know what's funny is I still haven't.
Wait, fucking seriously?
I haven't seen Shin. I have not seen Shin. I know.
Oh my God.
I love Godzilla. I have not seen Shin. I'm going to probably...
So this movie is so clearly inspired by it.
Oh, no.
But you don't know that you haven't seen it.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, and I've had it explained to me.
Don't tell me, oh, yeah.
It's fucking obvious. It's so obvious a person who's never seen Shin Godzilla can fucking see the similarities.
You just know that because people on the internet say it.
Oh, shut the fuck up. I know because you said it, dingus.
I just said it now.
No, but like, you told me stuff that happens in fucking Shin.
Yeah.
Shut up.
God damn it.
Damn it, Jared. You can cut this out. I forgot to say, guess what, guys? The guy who hates fucking fun loves Aquaman 2 because it's fun as fuck. Oh. God damn it. Damn it. Fuck. All right. Cut that out.
Okay. Director Yamazaki was a big fan of Shin Godzilla from 2016. Its success motivated Yamazaki to finally make his own film, though he wanted to take his film in a different direction to avoid directly imitating it. Nevertheless, Yamazaki hosted a screening with director Hideaki Anno, who directed Shin Godzilla, and revealed that Anno had actually stopped by during filming. The depiction of the floating dead fish with their insides sticking out is apparently scientifically accurate. Deep sea fish often appear to have their tongue sticking out when brought up to the surface due to changes in pressure.
Oh, yeah.
The gas-filled swim bladder, which helps control their buoyancy in deep waters, expands as they ascend, pushing their jaw and tongue forward. This phenomenon, known as barotrauma, causes the protrusion and gives the impression of their tongue sticking out when, in fact, it's a response to the pressure difference between their deep-sea environment and the surface. The film's militia that forms to defeat Godzilla were hoping to use this tactic to bring Godzilla to its demise.
Which is really neat.
It was.
I liked that they were using science to defeat Godzilla.
Yeah, when they're going over that whole plan, I kept thinking, is none of this going to work? And it's just going to have to be like the dude in like, kamikazing Godzilla and like, without spoiling it.
Yeah.
Pay attention. Let's keep watching. Okay.
That's hold on. Real quick.
That was. So please, you talk.
That was the reference to Shin. Actually, that I got. So I remember when people were explaining Shin to me, they were like, "Oh, it's like if Godzilla just showed up, and scientists are like, what the fuck is this?' And they're trying to like study this thing, right?" And so I know that okay, sure. It's like it's a natural disaster, but it's a living natural disaster, and they're trying to like monitor it to see what it does, what this thing does, right? Because it constantly evolves throughout the movie, does it not?
Yes, but Shin Godzilla is a commentary on was Fukushima the reactor that exploded after the tsunami.
Yes.
Okay, so Shin Godzilla is a commentary on how the Japanese government handled
that disaster.
The disaster. And so it's essentially all about how bureaucracy is both very powerful and very inept.
Gotcha.
And that's how I'll leave it, because I don't want to spoil anything about that movie, but that is essentially the wraparound for that movie.
Because it was supposed to be like realistic, a lot of scientist stuff was like prominent in the film, right?
Yes.
So
there's a lot of boardroom scenes where politicians and scientists are taking turns like shooting ideas and trying to like do stuff, and it's good. I swear to God,
no, it's fine. So what I was going to say is like when Dr. Noda is like proposing, this is how we take him out. Like clearly, conventional means the power of the government and the military can't get rid of this thing, so we need to use science to get rid of it.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is fucking Shin.
It's kind of like
it's Shin
commentating on something that Shin Godzilla is all about.
Yes,
but they completely overstep it and say, well, this is post-war Japan, and so there really is no Japanese government. There is American occupation, and they have decided they're not doing fucking shit about Godzilla, so it's up to us,
right?
Is how they decide to take care of it.
Yeah. Atlas shrugged. I can't wait till we get to it. But anyways, continue.
All of this is about that little joke, buddy. I got a lot to say to
my God, I got you fucked up, didn't I?
Okay, so now that you've said that,
yes.
Let's explain to the listener.
Yeah, let's go.
Will, you previously said to me when you walked out of Godzilla Minus One that this was as if Ayn Rand directed a Godzilla flick. You later referred to it as Ghidorah Shrugged.
That's right, I did.
For which I give you 5 comedy points.
Thank you.
However, I must take issue with what I believe is your impression of objectivism.
Okay.
Which is Ayn Rand's political philosophy.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'm sorry to get political science major on you.
So the only reason why I made that joke is because I know like a lot of libertarians like Ayn Rand, including our favorite Zack Snyder. And so
absolutely.
When you have a bunch of people who are outside of the government taking it into their hands to take care of a problem, whatever that problem may be. In this case, it's a good problem to get rid of, but doing that and saying, well, the government is inept, which I understand. In this instance, I liked that the movie took shots at the Japanese government of that time.
Yeah.
But in some instances, it could be seen as libertarianism.
I disagree. You can criticize the government and not be a fucking libertarian or objectivist.
I can't.
To be clear, Ayn Rand hated libertarians.
Right.
But their whole philosophy is clearly based in her philosophy.
Yes.
But she saw them as parasites. Well, she saw a lot of people as parasites, to be clear.
Even herself.
Yeah, because she her biography is very clear that she was reluctant, but let her attorney talk her into signing up for Medicare and Social Security. But it was like, come, bitch, you fucking.
All right, let's hear it, Jared.
Okay. We often joke about Ayn Rand, her philosophy, and her literary works, including Atlas Shrugged, and her disciples like director Zack Snyder, a self-professed fan who incorporates objectivist tenets into many of his films. While I wish to avoid devoting a significant chunk of this podcast of a very good movie to a political movement that I find reprehensible and cult-like, I do feel it is my duty as a political science major to give a broad overview of objectivism.
Okay, Dad, let's hear it.
Objectivism, much like social Darwinism, follows the belief that the strong are morally destined to dominate and exploit the weak, and the weak only exist to serve the strong. The man at the top of the intellectual pyramid contributes the most to all those below him, but gets nothing except his material payment, receiving no intellectual bonus from others to add to the value of his time or labor. The man at the bottom, who left to himself would starve in his hopeless ineptitude, contributes nothing to those above him, but receives the bonus of all of their work. It is an
hierarchy.
It is an ultra hierarchical. I cannot say that fucking word. It is an ultra hierarchical and authoritarian philosophy that is contemptuous of democracy, solidarity, and equality. The philosophy ties intelligence to wealth and morality. Objectivism purports that the rich wouldn't be rich if they weren't at the peak of intelligence and morality, and the poor wouldn't be poor if they weren't stupid and immoral. Essentially, it is the self-fulfilling fanatical worship of capitalism. Now, having said all that, please remember this if you check out Zack Snyder's forthcoming film Rebel Moon, as I suspect you will see some of these beliefs appear. Spoiler alert, we already did that episode, and yeah, you fucking do. I wrote that before having seen it. Okay. Godzilla Minus One. This is the last bit. I'm almost done.
No, dude, you're fine. Shit's fucking
I spent
hilarious.
so much time writing that up the other night, too.
I can't believe that my silly little Ghidorah joke got you fucked
I was so
up.
I turned to Courtney after having seen it and being like, I don't think Will even knows what objectivism is.
No, I don't. Sorry, I'm very used to like libertarians just criticizing the government and saying like private companies can just do it better.
Listen,
and like that's what they were doing in this movie. In a way, yes.
But Marxists, socialists, communists, all these people can also hate the government too, man.
That's true.
You can hate the government from every side.
That's true. They're the most vocal.
I know. Especially lately.
And also Ghidorah Shrugged is a fucking good joke.
Absolutely. No, I still give you comedy points. Like, incredible joke. Really good. Now, Godzilla Minus One, in my opinion, expresses a collectivism philosophy.
Okay.
Which is it's prevalent in Japan specifically.
This is true, yes.
Which I think is why it's plays such a role in this movie. But it's more prevalent in Japan than in the West. And it depicts civilians organizing and working together to conquer a large threat. Collectivism also values the family over the individual. And this is bolstered in the film by our leads forming a found family, essentially, and finding meaning and acceptance with each other. That's my argument for that.
No, I mean, I can definitely see it. Yeah. I understand. Maybe I should have thought about that. But the moment that I hear like the government's not going to do anything about it, we got to do something about it. Yeah. It just immediately makes me think of like, well, you know, we got to fix the roads ourselves.
To you, kind of that probably screamed the famous Ronald Reagan quote, like, and this gets butchered and repurposed all the time. But Ronald Reagan had a joke that like, there's no scarier sentence than the phrase, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, in recent decades, conservatives have decided to make people hate the government while taking over the government and getting elected so that they can dismantle it, essentially.
Right.
At the same time, though, they also want to make it too authoritarian. And this is why, you know, when Trump got elected, he was removing powers from, you know,
the EPA and shit. Yeah,
exactly. Smaller democracies, you know, smaller governments, you know, smaller state, city, local governments, and what have you, and giving it authoritarian to himself, you know, or to his own appointees. It's all fucking bullshit, man. It fucking sucks.
I agree. So let's talk about Godzilla instead.
Yeah. This is more of a rant for Shin Godzilla than for this movie, too, honestly.
Well, you know what? Let's cover Shin, dude.
We will. Yeah. When they give any lip service to the government, you know, they first of all, they don't depict the government at all in the movie, which is so funny. Like, they do like a little archival footage of like Douglas MacArthur.
Yes.
And just being like, yeah, the U.S. military knows about Godzilla, and they're like, we can't do anything because we'll upset the Russians, kind of thing.
Yeah, it'll set off World War.
And that's why there's the one character who like almost looks directly at camera, and he's like, the Japanese government fucking sucks.
Yeah, it was Seiji Akitsu,
he's the boat captain, where they're like
fucking rules.
Oh, I loved every single character in this movie, but especially the Dr.
Noda
on that boat.
Yeah, Kenji
I loved
Noda.
his hair, his outfits. Oh my god, the outfits in this movie are impeccable. I love like it was all so good.
The outfits are great. The moment that I saw that character, I was like, oh, this is the guy who kills Godzilla.
Yeah, like that guy right comes up with like, let's make a special bomb for Godzilla or some shit, you know, and of course he kind of did. Yeah. That guy 100%. Fucking ruled.
Yeah, he was great. Did you know he doesn't even have like an IMDb picture?
No,
yeah, Hidetaka Yoshioka.
I mean, I hope he's about to flourish.
Oh yeah,
have a huge
100%.
career.
Dude, he's such a charming character in this movie.
Really is. Yeah, he's kind of like hot in like an older Japanese guy kind of way, you know? Like he's so charming. Okay, should we run down the plot just very generally?
I mean, we could. Like what at the core of the movie, it's a disgrace to kamikaze pilot. Fails to pull the trigger in multiple occasions.
Right. So we're introduced to our main character.
Hold on, I've got it. His name is Koichi Shikishima,
and he is a kamikaze pilot who has says he has engine trouble and lands on this small island where there's some mechanics. If it's not clear, he's fighting for the Japanese Navy.
Yeah. And
during World War II.
During World War II. So like
but like
not our biggest fan.
Right. And he lands and the pilots or the mechanics take a look at the thing and they're like, hey, it's fine, it's in working order. And so the leader of the mechanics like tells the pilot and he's like, hey, there's nothing wrong with your plane. I think you're okay.
Yeah, it's Tachibana.
And he clearly seems like distraught by this and is just looking out the ocean, and the pilot or the mechanic talks to the pilot and says like, listen, I get it. Like, we know this war is coming to an end.
Yeah.
We've lost, and you don't see the point in like being a kamikaze pilot, which means he's going to kill himself essentially.
Yeah, he's going to fly that plane right into somebody.
He's like, I get it. Like, I'm on your side. But then, so he stays the night with them, and then Godzilla
shows up, and it's like,
and it's a small Godzilla. It's only about 2 or 3 stories tall.
Yeah, and they do call him a dinosaur. And they're like, hey, it's a.
They refer to him as a dinosaur monster a bunch. Yeah. But he shows up that night, and everyone's hiding. And they tell the pilot, like, hey, go jump in your airplane and shoot him with your guns.
Get in there. Nothing can withstand the power of a 20
millimeter.
20. Was it 20? I thought it was a 50.
It's 20.
20 millimeter machine gun.
Yeah.
And Koichi's like, sure.
Yeah. But then when he gets over there and jumps into the cockpit of the plane, he can't. Like, his hands are trembling. He's too scared to pull the trigger. And of course, Godzilla starts eating everybody, and a bunch of people die because he didn't take the shot. Mm-hmm. So he is, been a coward twice, essentially. First time he wouldn't be the kamikaze pilot. Second time he wouldn't take the shot at Godzilla.
Double regret.
And so he survives that. He passes out and survives the destruction that night, but it's only him and
Tachibana,
the head of the mechanics, who blames him now for having not taken the shot. And he's like dragging all the bodies of his men together and is just like devastated. Well, the war ends. We see them get shipped home, and the head of the mechanics hands off like a bunch of pictures of the pilots and their families.
Yeah,
to our protagonist, so that he can obviously like kind of live in regret and essentially like be haunted by. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then he gets back home, and there's like a long montage of him dealing with the fact that his parents are dead.
Right. He goes home to Tokyo and finds that it, of course, has been firebombed
to hell and back.
Yeah, because if anyone doesn't know the history, America bombed the fucking shit out of Japan, not just at Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
But everywhere.
We firebombed a lot of cities.
Go watch Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, there's
I know
depictions of firebombing.
A lot of civilians.
Too. Yeah.
Anyway, he finds that his parents are dead.
His neighbor blames him for his failure.
Right. There's like a bunch of burned out buildings. He's basically living in like a little lean-to. His neighbor starts blaming him, and she's like, "Wait, weren't you a kamikaze pilot?"
Yeah,
and
what
she's
the fuck are you back here?
It's because of people like you that weren't courageous enough to die that we all suffered now."
Yeah.
Which is really damning. And I was like, "Oh no, please tell me that's not what this movie is saying." But they do. Like, obviously, she turns around on him.
Yeah,
thank God, because I was like, I really hope that's not what this movie is fucking saying.
But then, like, you know, the found family thing starts happening. You know,
right? He runs into a little like
a vagrant
street urchin, who's like stealing food. And she hands him a baby while she's running away from like the police, and then she shows back up, and he's like, "Thanks for holding the baby."
It was actually a great scene. He was like, "You've been here the whole time." He's like, "Yeah, I can't go out there where you."
Yeah, she was like, "You were sitting out in the open. I couldn't just go like regroup."
Fucking idiot. Yeah, her name's Noriko, and the only reason why I fucking remember that is because there's a character in Bloody Roar 2 named Noriko the Half Beast. Yeah.
Well, and the baby's name is Akiko.
Which I remember too. Actually, all the women in this movie, their last name ends in KO because the neighbor is Shimiko.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So they she just kind of basically crashes at his little lean-to.
Yep. And
they essentially become a little, nuclear family kind of
but
deal.
They're not a couple.
Right.
Never officially anything.
Our protagonist keeps stressing that, they're not married or anything. And that it's not his kid, it's not her kid either, because she apparently found the kid orphaned. So it's a family of 3 orphans that have kind of just formed together here.
And I think the reason why, I guess it does come up because the reason why he never took the chance is because he lives in shame.
Right. We find that out much later when after some other stuff happens. So he gets a job to help support everybody and to buy formula for the baby by being essentially a minesweeper.
And that job is so cool.
Dude, when they're setting it up, I started getting so riled up. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
This movie is doing a great job of
making you give a shit about. Yeah.
So we see that our protagonist is getting set up with this new job where he's a minesweeper. And the film does a very thorough walkthrough of here's the step-by-step process of how they destroy these mines and who each character on this boat is and what their backstory is. And it's really great. It's such a great setup.
Yeah.
And it explains, both the next few minutes of the film, but also how this ties into the strategy of how they used to fight Godzilla later, which is so great. But anyway, we learned that so many mines were placed around the sea, of Japan during the war by both sides that now they have to clean them all up so that they can continue fishing and stuff.
Yeah.
And so basically they drive around with another ship next to them with a line. Boats. And as the mines come up, they cut the cable holding them underneath, and then they shoot the mine with a 50 mounted gun.
Yeah.
I think it's only a 10 millimeter.
Is it?
Yeah. But anyway,
they
hire our protagonist because he used to fly a jet? No.
He flew a
plane.
MiG.
He used to fly a plane.
Yeah, the MiG.
And he knew how to shoot the mounted weapon on that.
Yes.
And so he can handle it on this boat just fine.
Yeah.
And so everyone else has their role on this ship, which is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when a film defines things. If you, a film about men who are good at their job, people that are good at their job, excuse me.
Yeah.
Is always good.
Yeah, it is.
When it handles it well, it's great.
You know what?
And it could be the most boring thing in the world, but no, I was engrossed. I was like, I turned to Courtney and I'm like, this is so cool. They're setting up kind of a manial job, but I'm invested. It's great.
Yeah. One thing I also liked about this is that the other boat, you never see the people on the other boat.
You never meet anybody on it.
And they have such great personality still.
Yeah.
The 2 ship captains will banter with each other.
Yeah.
Cause
over the radio.
Because there's an instance where, now they're trying to slow Godzilla down because Godzilla exists, and the other boat's hey, we're gonna get him first or what have you. Very cocky and stuff. And even all the little tugboats, all their names end in Maru.
What? I was gonna say the first time they go to fight Godzilla in their boat, Godzilla just pops up and immediately eats the other boat.
Yeah, immediately. And it's
terrifying, but funny at the same time. Yeah, I'm well, those guys are all dead now.
Yeah. God, and speaking of the first time Godzilla shows up, holy shit, he's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
He's scary as fuck.
Yep.
He's like a gator swimming through the water, just this unrelenting machine. And when he ate the mine, because they tried to grab a mine, have him eat it, and then shoot it. When Koichi hits the mine and blows up Godzilla's head, I was like, oh, fuck. That's it. That's the movie.
That's the game, everybody. Yeah.
And then it fucking regenerated. It was like, oh my God.
Yep.
I didn't even think that they could do abilities like this.
Oh,
you know? Like, I know Godzilla's got like minor regeneration, but not like complete death and then comes back.
There's been so many Godzilla movies that they are constantly introducing different abilities and stuff. And they reference a lot of those in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not like a Godzilla historian, but I was scrolling through like trivia for this film and seeing like, oh, this power is referenced in this Godzilla movie, and this thing is referenced in this Godzilla movie, and then this song is from this movie. And I was like, oh, that's really neat that like, if you're a huge fan, there's so much to eat in this movie. You know, like it is a feast for Godzilla fans. But if you are coming into this blind and you barely even know what Godzilla means,
it's still good.
You're going to have an amazing time regardless. It's
But yeah, like after they hit him in the face and the Takao shows up the big warship.
Right.
They're like, oh, nothing can.
We're saved. Like this is the real deal here.
Yeah, the Takao is a fucking beast. It's an animal of a machine, and he fucking nukes it. Yo, when he fucking atomic breaths that thing, and like it just blows up. I was like, oh, this movie's gonna be fucking awesome.
It was devastating.
Like
it is like, so it's Godzilla's like heat breath, but it is depicted in the film as if an actual atomic bomb goes off. It is intense.
It's super intense, and
he does it twice, right?
Yeah, he hits it twice.
Because when he does it on land,
oh, it's even worse.
It's so oh my God. And they really are pulling from imagery of like when America bombed like you know, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But yeah, when we so later Godzilla comes on land in Tokyo and just starts wreaking havoc, of course.
Yep.
And almost kills Noriko.
Yeah.
And our protagonist comes and like tries to rescue her from the city.
Yeah, because he knows that she's working in Ginza. She's like,
she gets like a desk job and stuff.
Yeah, big. They make a big point that Ginza is not only rebuilding, but it's building up, and it's like that's where all
they're
the
getting more jobs for people and stuff. Because obviously, Japan was devastated after the war, both economically, infrastructure, all of it. You fucking name it. Yeah, they had to completely rebuild.
Yeah.
This movie touches on a lot of fraught stuff, but very interesting things that like I think we as Americans never really examine. And a lot of even boomers just kind of look, well, fuck them because
they bombed Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no remorse or any kind of re-examining of it, but it is
they're a product of propaganda.
Exactly. There's a lot to look and think about. Let's just leave it there. I have heard that this film is a great companion piece to Oppenheimer. I've not seen Oppenheimer just yet. I'm excited to watch it eventually.
Well, I mean, don't you remember the scene where Godzilla turns to the camera and says, "I am become death,
destroyer of worlds"?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So I wanted to talk about actually Ginza real quick.
Yeah.
So another neat little throwback to the original Godzilla is a lot of the buildings that he destroys or focuses on are the same buildings in that first film.
The original 1954
the train bit where it's in its mouth, that's a reference. There's like a couple of different other ones in there. It was really neat.
When the reporters are on the roof chronicling it, that's also in the first movie. Yeah. Godzilla ends his initial, on land rampage by
obliterating
his heat ray.
And
sets off an atomic bomb essentially, and it is horrific. Oh my God, it's a fascinating visual effect. But also just devastating. And then the aftershock of the blast is heading towards our protagonist and Noriko.
And Noriko
she shoves him into an alleyway to protect him, and then she gets blown away. And
fucking dies. Anyways, our
protagonist is devastated, of course, so he's left to raise this baby by himself, and he's just a complete hollow shell of himself.
Not only could he not be brave enough to do his job or save the 8 mechanics on the island, he also isn't brave enough to fucking save Noriko.
Right.
Or confess his feelings, sir.
And now he thinks that like it's he's being haunted and punished for being a coward during the war and all this stuff. And he's like, I can't be happy, can I? Like, I can't reset. Like, and so to him, he's constantly living a war now. And he said to Noriko before this that he's like, I'm still in a war, because he was still struggling with like everything that he did. And he didn't want to express it to her. But one night after having some PTSD nightmares, he explains to her that he, essentially met Godzilla on this island and it ate all these men because he was too afraid to pull the trigger on this gun.
Yeah.
And so it's haunting him, clearly.
It's the sin of his failure is made manifest and only gotten bigger.
Right. And now that Godzilla... we skipped over this, but Godzilla is significantly larger and more powerful now because of the atomic age.
Yeah.
I think it's very brief, but it's shown that like...
They were testing a bomb.
Right. And this happens in a lot of Godzilla movies, but like America is like testing an atomic bomb and it like mutates Godzilla.
The radiation like fucks him up real bad.
And it makes him bigger and stronger and gives him powers essentially. Or him or her. Godzilla's they them.
It's that's our big bad non-binary queen.
Exactly.
Or royal. I was gonna say before we move on, Godzilla gives a loud bellow after doing the destruction of Ginza, and I don't know if you read, but in order for them to get that sound, they just played Godzilla's original thing, but in a stadium
over a loudspeaker.
Yeah, and oh my god, Godzilla has never sounded more fucking powerful.
Right, because when they use the original yell, it's still a little tinny and the kind of vintage sounding.
Yeah.
And so I can tell they didn't want to do that. Even though this is a period piece.
Yeah.
They wanted it to be authentically like horrifying.
Yes,
and
it was.
A great job.
Yeah, it was very horrifying.
Yeah. So after this, obviously we get a quick scene of the U.S. government who is currently occupying Japan because Japan was not allowed to have any kind of military.
Yeah, they have a police defense force.
For the first, 10, 20 years after World War II.
They're still not allowed to have a military.
They have a defense force.
Yeah, but it's like the police defense force. It's into like public safety. I know this because when I went in 2018, our Uber driver was a part of the defense force for 30 years.
Right.
And he would just kind of gave us a little bit of history the best that he could.
But they're only... I didn't actually know this. They're only allowed to have maybe certain...
It is not an army, quote unquote.
Okay. Well, who dictates that?
I don't fucking know, dude.
Is it the UN?
Dude, I have no idea. I've never looked into it. I was just like, oh, that's weird. I learned something new today. I never thought about it ever again.
Kyle, feel free to reach out and tell
Kyle,
us.
If you could
love you, bud.
use your big brain researching skills.
I know he knows.
Yeah, dude.
He's sitting listening right now being like, I have to tell these guys.
I can't fucking wait to open up the Warhammer game that we play and see it.
See him in chat being like, okay, guys, here's what actually is going on with Japan.
I can't wait.
But anyway... the characters in the movie get together and say, hey, America isn't going to do anything because they're afraid that if they send in, some battleships to fight Godzilla, they're going to upset the Soviets because there's kind of some Cold War tensions happening around this time. And there is no Japanese military anymore. They've been dismantled post-war.
And the Japanese government can't do shit.
Right, so they can't do anything.
What's his name looks right at the camera. Japan's government fucking sucks.
Yeah, he's like, but we have to destroy Godzilla because we got killing people. Yeah.
We got to get rid of him because he's gonna keep coming back and he's gonna keep blowing shit up. So
this former Navy general, Japanese Navy general, organizes a big meeting, and brings together a bunch of former Navy personnel. And they're all civilians now, though, because there's no Navy anymore.
Yeah.
And he says, we have to put together a group, a coalition, to fight Godzilla. He's like, I need everybody who is willing. He's like, I cannot force you. I cannot draft you. I only ask that you volunteer to do this. And a bunch of people leave initially.
And then after we're done killing Godzilla, we're going to work on the roads. And we're going to privatize. I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. I was like... But a bunch of people leave because they're like, why do we have to keep... Why is it us? Why is it us, poor working class people that have to keep giving our lives for this?
I wonder why.
And a bunch of people walk out. Yeah, exactly. But then the general gives a speech about is it the protagonist?
No, it's not the protagonist.
No,
it was one of the other guys who was like, if not us, then who? Exactly.
Because he's like, this is a bigger threat than just, getting involved in World War II, essentially. It's... I'm paraphrasing one of the characters.
We've suffered enough.
Right. Oh, the general says this. He's like, Japanese government failed us. Half of Japanese people that died during the war died from starvation because the Japanese government did not plan enough and reallocated resources so poorly that so many people starved. And also, he's like, they just straight up wouldn't put ejection seats in the planes.
That was the second one. That was the second.
His second point.
That was the second speech.
Oh, a sex speech.
There was a first speech.
That's right. You're right.
Where he's like, if you want to leave, you can. And one guy is like, yeah, why does it keep falling to us to deal with? But then another guy, he steps up and he says, if not us, then who?
Yeah.
Japan can't keep suffering losses like this. We have to do something.
Right.
Who's with me? And then a bunch of people are like, here, and they all cheer, right?
Yeah.
The speech you're thinking about is later on, whenever they're charting Godzilla's course and trying to plan on what day it's going to be.
Right.
And someone, I can't remember if it's Dr. Noda or if it's the ship captain, but he's like, we can't rely on the Japanese government to help us when they didn't even consider us,
during the war.
Yeah. Like,
they were so willing to throw people's lives away.
They didn't care about us. They did, enough to make the armor on our tanks strong or put ejection seats in our planes.
And he even calls kamikaze like dishonorable. He was like, they would make us like give our lives, for small gain. Like it wasn't worth it, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. It was like they expected us to die for the greater good, and they did not care about us.
Right.
And I thought that that in a speech right there, I agreed with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, because I was really worried like the film was saying certain things.
Yeah.
and it totally turns around and like helps course correct itself by doing that, and saying like, yeah, a lot of that shit we did in the war like wasn't good.
It was fucked up.
By doing this, by defeating Godzilla, we are doing good. Like we are saving the populace. We are defeating, a natural threat to everyone.
And it's like in a redemption arc.
Right.
Like everybody is trying to redeem.
That is easily what this film is all about.
The horrors
about people having been devastated by the war, both just being in it, period, and all of the loss that all the Japanese suffered from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to redeem themselves and feel good about something and having saved the world, essentially doing something that they wanted to be doing in the war, but they weren't, obviously, and also they lost. And all of the devastation and loss that they suffered because of the war, they are able to reclaim a little bit of that by defeating Godzilla.
Yeah.
So they enact their plan. It's great. That the whole last act of the film is amazing.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
I don't want to go into too much of that because it's a lot of like, just, play by play of what happens.
Yeah.
But of course, it's teased the whole movie that like our protagonist is going to have to kill himself, and eventually, like he even makes a side plan he regroups with the mechanic from the beginning.
Yeah,
and like he's like, I want to fly a plane of explosives into Godzilla, essentially.
Yeah,
and it's telegraphed pretty easily, but the mechanic installs an ejection seat for him.
No, he didn't install it.
Oh, it was already in there?
Yeah, it came with it.
Shows him when he's walking him through the plane. He goes, there's one more thing, and then it cuts away. And it's clearly him walking him through the ejection seat.
Jared.
Yeah.
I knew that there was an ejection seat in that plane.
Because it said it in German on the seat.
Because it says attention in German on the seat. Because the Germans cared about their soldiers.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. And so they had all those fail-safes in there. And so like I was like, oh, he's just going to eject.
Yeah.
I thought Tachibana when he was telling him you got to pull this lever to prime the bomb.
Right.
That it was just going to.
That's because that's the last thing he does before he jumps out.
Yeah.
Oh, you thought? Oh, I thought
it was like he was tricking him into because he doesn't want to kill himself either. Yeah.
That's funny.
So like the ejection seat thing was like super fucking telegraphed. Like
yeah. But that's fine. Like I said, I saw it coming a mile away. And I was still like overwhelmed when the scene happens, when he flies the plane in Godzilla's mouth.
I would have been more overwhelmed if they didn't then, as he fucking ejected, cut back to the scene where he's like, one more thing. Hey, there's an ejection seat in here, by the way. Like, come on, man. Don't explain it to me. It's very clear that he had it.
I will say it was better than how Dark Knight Rises handled it. Because it took me like 3 viewings before I realized that's what happened in Dark Knight Rises. Because I thought Michael Caine was imagining seeing Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
I didn't get that scene where they're like, oh, the autopilot got fixed on the back. It was seriously like my second or third viewing of Dark Knight Rises when I realized like, oh, he ejected.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's great. Even knowing it going into it, like it was still a great scene. And then everyone is wrapped by like you see the mechanic listening to the radio play by play, and they're like, "Oh, the pilot ejected. He's landing safely," and he's like, "Yes," because he's like, "I want you to live," and I'm like, "God, I'm getting teared up just thinking about it."
You have to live so that these people's deaths they didn't die in vain.
I was so worried the film was going to be like, he's got to like redeem himself by killing himself and doing the kamikaze thing.
Yeah.
And it's not. Like, it's just like, no, fucker, like, you get to live, so make the most of it.
Yeah.
And he kind of was by starting this new family
Yep.
and like trying to rebuild Tokyo, but then Godzilla came and fucked it up. But because he decided to help fight, like, he's able to like take over, like reclaim that his trauma, essentially. It's so good.
It is.
And then, even better.
No, I hated this. I fucking hated this.
Let him have this.
Because I knew maybe right before the person with the telegram shows up and talks to Shimiko,
the neighbor that's babysitting the baby while he's out presumably killing himself.
Like, oh, fuck you, film. Like, let her just die. Just let her die.
So when our protagonist, like, they successfully defeat Godzilla and he gets home, he finds out that Noriko is still alive. She's in a hospital recovering. He just didn't find her body in the rubble.
Yeah, because it shouldn't.
So he goes running into the hospital room holding the baby Akiko and just like falls down on his knees crying. It's so good. Fuck you for not enjoying it.
Dude. That was trite. Fuck that.
I loved it.
Let her die.
My wife and I were both just fucking in tears.
I'm sure.
I mean, but it helps that we're literally like those people on screen.
Yeah.
Like, we have a fucking newborn baby.
Yeah.
And we've never been closer than we are, right now.
Yeah.
But
let her die, bro.
what happens though?
Yeah.
As the movie ends,
Yeah.
we get a zoom in of her neck.
Yep.
And there's a little. What is that? What was that?
Dude, I don't fucking know. So,
I have two theories.
well, first off, one moment.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Godzilla real quick.
Right. Well, and to be clear, we also see a piece of Godzilla falling in the ocean after having been destroyed, and it's
back.
regenerating.
Yes. I just wanted to talk about real quick the effects of pressurizing and depressurizing Godzilla on its body was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Its eyes were popped out, its muscles were pulled to the surface.
Yeah.
What a cool fucking thing. Even when like it was charging its fucking laser and then hits the depths and just like stops.
Yeah.
It was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
So Godzilla's still alive, whatever. Maybe we'll get a sequel. Who knows? That the pulsing of the neck, I want to say that was actually a thing that happened in one of the older films. Because like,
do you mean like where the plates shift up and it's building its heat ray?
No.
Oh, okay.
Where the person's infected by like something.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know. Baby Godzilla. I have no idea. I don't know what it's a reference to, but I feel like there were bits and pieces where like parts of Godzilla fell into the populace.
Yes,
and it like caused havoc. But I can't actually tell you what.
So we do get scenes of there's radiation from Godzilla's attack.
Yes,
and there are people like in radiation suits with like Geiger counters, like checking it out. And, like, finding radiation, obviously.
And Godzilla is radiation.
He's radioactive. Yeah. And so I think it could be radiation poisoning infecting her.
Okay.
And some of the after effects of Godzilla's attack are going to be, radiation poisoning on the populace.
Yeah.
Which was a real thing that happened to a lot of Japanese people after the atomic bombs being dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yes.
It's one of those things where, because I was trying to read into it, and there was so much devastation that we really don't know how many people died from the bombs, separate from died from the after effects of the bombs, which is really fucking wild. But there's been a lot of speculation about like how much the populace was affected by radiation poisoning after the fact.
Yeah.
And people that still live in Hiroshima and Nagasaki today, like, are they being poisoned by radioactivity? A lot of the science that's out there says not anymore, because the bomb was detonated so high over the land that technically no, it was the blast.
Yeah.
But there are still people that were, poisoned by it. We just don't have hard numbers on it because it wasn't studied. Like, there was just so much devastation they couldn't,
It's fucking crazy.
It's really fucked up. But I think it could be a commentary on that, about how like there is other
after effects.
There are other after effects, that they're not accounting for, that are still going to affect Tokyo and Japan at large.
Yeah.
Or it could be a more in-universe thing where it's like, this is like a Godzilla curse kind of thing, where it's like it's
got to be an in-universe thing.
Yeah, where it's like,
I'm almost positive there's like people that like start growing scales and shit and starts killing them. I want to say this is a plot point in one of the older movies. Yeah,
doesn't this kind of happen in Cloverfield too?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of. They're not getting it's not that they're getting like scales and shit, but the mites, when the mites bite somebody, it adds oxidization to the blood and makes you pop.
That's what it was. Yeah. That's really this movie fucking ruled.
Yeah, it was great.
If you made it this far, you've been spoiled. I'm sorry, but go see it.
Go see it.
It's great.
Yeah. Dan Smith.
Yes.
This was his first Godzilla movie, and he wants to watch a shit ton of Godzilla movies now.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry he started so high.
I know. I was like, all right, so let's we're gonna have to lower expectations, go to the 1998 Godzilla, and build up from there.
But Shin Godzilla, I would be like the next, like, it's also great.
No, he doesn't get Shin. He's not allowed to get Shin. Not until he has to suffer. He has to suffer through the 98 Godzilla. You have to. It's a rite of passage.
Don't show him that.
He absolutely is going to watch that.
No.
That's the first
one. He
one
already doesn't like movies, so like
I know. He has to suffer.
Just show him the good ones, you know?
No.
Okay. Well, folks, thank you for listening to Debaser. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to us on your podcast app and follow us on social media by searching for @DebaserPod. We also have a YouTube channel where you can subscribe to. We are looking to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so please check us out there. I've been Jared Rusk, and my lovely co-host has been Will Taylor. Will, where can people find you, and do you have anything to plug?
You can find me on Instagram. You already know it. You love it. I'd love to plug this movie. If it's still in theaters, go see it.
Fucking A, man.
Yeah, it's good. Go see Godzilla. Yeah, you'll have a great time.
That's a wrap. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Debaser is hosted and produced by Will Taylor and Jared Rusk. Want to email the show? Send it to podcast@debaserpod.com. Want to help us out? Please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice, especially Apple Podcasts. Thank you for listening, and take care out there.